the show.
Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk. My name's Ian Utilli. This is episode number 24. We've done this for 24 days. We meet 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Of course, Nigel coming in from Florida. He's living in the future. It's 2 p.m. over there on the East Coast. And this is 1340 a.m. KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. And we're grateful to be here doing local radio on the airwaves. Nigel, you'll be here on Saturday. You're going to come hang out with us in studio for 2 weeks. Santa Cruz always looks forward to having your presence. How about you? You looking forward to coming where the weather is nice and all kinds of things are nice around here?
Yeah, I'm going to beat the heat. And we just had some AC problems. So I'm looking forward to the cool weather.
The weather is just glorious. I have gone up the Soquel Creek 8 times on a paddleboard in the last 3 days. I am like all about that paddleboard life right now. The Soquel Creek is something else. It's 69 degrees Fahrenheit around here for all of our friends in Europe and Asia. That's like 20 degrees Celsius. It's glorious, and it's sunny. A little foggy sometimes in the morning, but it doesn't bother us.
Oh, the fog's wonderful. I went up the Soquel Creek one time this week in the last 3 days with you.
I was with you, and you're the specimen, bro. You are the specimen. Ted decided, why use a paddle on a paddleboard? Let's just get on our knees and use these 2 big paws. And I couldn't catch up with the man. He was just paddling with his big, huge hands.
Well, you had the Malachi handicap too.
Finally yelled out. I yelled out. I said, I screamed out, Uncle. I said, all right, Teddy, I'm not going to catch you, bro. So either you can slow down so we can hang out and talk, or I'll just
I wish you caught video of me standing up on the board, though. That did not put me in such a specimen light. That put me in
any longer of you staying on the board, you would have gotten real wet. That's for sure.
Yeah.
6'9". That's a little hard to stay up on the board. Might be a bit easier for the shorter folks. So good morning, everybody that's listening to us, and good morning to my friends that are here with me now. Malachi, good morning.
Hi, Dad.
You're getting about ready to go out on the boat. We're talking about the impact of automation, AI, crypto, all that type of stuff upon the news and media industry. So that really has nothing to do with boating. I was trying to think of some sort of connection, but there's nothing there. But when you're out and about, you and your friends might be talking about the news. You might be talking about what's happening locally. You might be talking about what's happening nationally. And most likely you're looking at things that AI helped co-produce. And if not today, very soon, you'll be cross-referencing with ledgers.
Just for like all of humanity, people just get their information from the things happening right around them. Like, oh, my next door neighbor told me this. And that's what it's been forever. But then recently, now we start to have other ways to extract information. And once the internet came out, it's like, oh, there's so much now, but it's almost overwhelming. It's just such a weird thought that something that's so valuable, once it becomes scarce like it used to be, it almost loses the sense of extreme value that it had. Which is an interesting thought, and it happens in so many different sectors. Just like how with prompting, if I had AI 3 or let's say like 5 years ago, my gosh, I would just be talking to it for the entire week straight. I wouldn't be able to stop.
Because it's when you start talking to AI and then you find it compelling enough to just keep going. It has a 1 hour limit on Grok, at least it did. Or OpenAI, one of the two. And Malcolm and I were in the car, and we started working with the AI, talking to it, and it went until we hit the limit. We basically just talked to it for an hour. So it is easy. It's easy, the conversational thing. Sam Altman just was on a podcast interview. He's the founder of OpenAI. He said that he got an email he did not understand. He could not figure out how to respond to the email. He put it into OpenAI's ChatGPT 5, which is not yet publicly available. And he said the AI fully understood the email, wrote the perfect response, And he said for the first time, he felt this sense of like, oh, that was weird. I wasn't really needed. I could have just had the AI do it for me. So what's it going to be like when journalists really understand that they're, in a sense, becoming curators of what's happening today? And is that something that we're comfortable with? Trump just had a big press conference around AI, and he said he does not want AI to have any ideologies. Now, obviously, that's not true. He doesn't really believe that. What he really believes is he doesn't want it to have ideologies he doesn't agree with. And maybe he doesn't want to have ideologies that a lot of people don't agree with. Any large language model is going to have ideologies baked into it. So the question is, how do we minimize the ideologies that will be into our large language models, right? We don't want it to be Christian or Muslim. We don't want it to have one culture and not the other. We certainly don't want it to be racist. We don't want it to, look down upon people with disabilities or look up at people with abilities. We want AI to be non-emotional and based, and we want it to be something that will serve all of humanity. And is it currently doing that? And if so, which of these large language models are? From my personal experience,
Like, how do you get something? It's just taking the information that humans have done, and humans have the human condition. We are inherently going to do all the bad things you were just mentioning. We're not going to be completely unbiased. But if AI is only taking information from that, how are we supposed to expect it to have perfect morals and values and to be what we want it to be? Information that just isn't that. Said with to be or just describing how you want your AI to be. And the cool thing about that is that's probably where we're going to be going. You're going to be right now. You can start training whatever AI that you use inside of one of the settings to set the tone, as your answers are, and as you start using the AI, it's responding back to you sort of specifically. I think everybody's using it enough and realize that that's actually happening. Some of them are actually you open the platform and it's actually saying, "Hi, Dan. Hi, Ian. How you doing today?" So it's really getting in there with you. But to my point that I'm trying to get to is all those adjectives that you described, enter that into your AI as you're seeking out the information. Tell it make sure you tell it you want it to be compassionate, empathetic, non-biased. You don't want to, you want to seek out all professionals that whatever area that you're talking about. Make sure they're vetted. Give you the citations. Note the resources. And it'll do that. It'll give you back what you're needing to do. So I think that that's going to be a great direction that we're going. And then ultimately, I think that getting off of the cloud and personalizing your cloud, maybe having your own little server and you're connected to whatever your router is or whatever. How big would the server have to be? To have your own little server in a box like a computer,
even smaller.
Yeah, it would be like a computer box. But I think that's where we're going to go, so people can kind of very similar to a cold storage. So we can feel much more safer putting our legal papers and deeds to houses and other personal things that maybe we don't ever want to share just in case, and not letting it, another platform be in control of it, but having it in your own personal cloud server. And that's when these large language models will start scaling down into more narrow language models. I think that when we start using those, that's when it really starts to become personalized, and we can start having better conversations like you and Malachi had the other day in the car, where it's really going to start blowing our minds, making suggestions. Did you take the car in for the brake job like it's supposed to? You're like, wait, how did you know that?
Right.
Yeah, Tesla has recently just introduced Grok into the car.
Of course.
It makes sense.
Tesla and Grok are the same.
I imagine that's going to be something.
Different name.
Imagine it's going to be something that happens really soon.
Certainly Tesla X, Grok, which is X X.ai, as well as anything else that Elon is the sole kind of
makes total sense.
alpha decision maker.
That in his course.
All of it shares the same large language models. So the way that Grok benefits from Tesla is having all of that real world data. The way that Tesla benefits from Grok is having all the data that comes from X.com, or formerly Twitter. Nigel, what are your thoughts on our conversation? How automation, AI, crypto is impacting news and media? And of course, we can play around with other around this. But what's on your mind, my friend?
Just to piggyback off of what you were saying before, I think two words come to mind. Accuracy and acknowledgement. I think if we make those two items non-negotiable and work towards a more narrow language model, we will both reach a position of greener AI, more responsible, because we'll have less garbage to filter through. Because a lot of the Web 2 and Web 3 and even AI is filtering what is wrong. And just like humans, right at the bottom it says these answers could be wrong. So we need to make allowances for that. And demand accuracy.
AI for anything that has to relate with health, it says this, and this. By the way, I'm not a health expert. Really don't trust me. Like, I always have to make sure to say that.
Keep going.
One of the things I've found, or I've recently just incorporated in my prompting is any information is contradictory or found to be false. I flag whatever it is as like a black mark. I want to start. It's like block and report. I think we need to start filtering that information and making that more of the standard. Not complaining, just weeding it out. It's like a weed and fertilize sort of thing. And I think that's going to help us to move into a better space, especially when it comes to automation. Because once you automate, it's going to exponentially expand problems as well as good. So, and that becomes a bigger problem.
Yeah.
What about the idea of the citizen journalist that has become in the last decade or so? I mean, people are naturally involved in something's happening. There's someone there with their cell phone they are actually privy to the best footage, real live time, and actually, maybe saying something about it and posting a 1-minute video of it. And they have, like I said, the best footage because it was only at that moment they were able to catch an instant in time. So there's a lot of citizen journalism that's happened in the last decade or two, since we have such high use of social media. And then the AI tools that are able to be used personally actually can make a citizen journalist really look, sound, and feel like a top end, high. What I'm trying to say, one of the high end journalistic.
It can make an amateur look like a professional
right off the bat, right? In just a day. So I think that's just an interesting point that just popped in my head. I think that there's a lot of us out there doing, our own little video or our own little journalism, and being able to capture a moment in time is very special. And again, you can make it and make it look unique and, actually add value or create value of it.
Ted, I feel like you've been at the forefront of citizen journalism over the last couple decades, in that you've been able to see things before they hit the news, like the transformation that's happened in Argentina, or some of the transformative things that have happened in the Silicon Valley, some of the transformative things that have happened just at San Quentin and the other prisons that you played basketball in. And so there's this reality to, you get to see things before others. You get to publish those things on social media. And there's even been little mini documentaries that have been made using your footage and the footage of other people that you've been with. And what's your take right now on how AI is now empowering citizen journalism? How do you feel about news and media being impacted by these automation tools?
You mentioned earlier that journalists are going to have to turn to be aggregators and curators. I think that's already happened. Because I think that's what social media did. And the journalists, the professional journalists on the field is like kind of a thing of the past. What I see with AI, I mean, you talk about yes, I've been on the forefront, been able to see things before they happened, but I've also been able to see good news that, as we talked about before, never even makes the news. Stories that should be heard globally. And it's very challenging to do that. I see the challenges is one, like I feel like what we have right now, anyone can look like a professional. Now we need the tools, and we have the tools to actually be a professional. To do that high level of curation that was what we've kind of lost in the old media. It had challenges before, but there was a level of professionalism of vetting what they did. Now we have the AI tools to not just look like a professional, but to hold ourselves to that standard. That can be very powerful. And I see what we could potentially do is move from this opinionated, curated, everyone talking about the same points and giving their own opinion, and it's all just opinions out there. To have much more rigorous, find the exciting stories that are very important, and then have the automated like fact checking and beyond that, like to a whole nother level to really validate them. That's what I'm excited about. If we could empower a journalism that has the rigor of professional journals. Journalists of the past, and now the spread and the decentralization. And then maybe we can solve the problem of addressing our bias, only wanting to hear bad news, and we create bad news in the process of our attention and our humanity to actually focus on the positive and solve problems.
Parents who have kids that love to do things that are in relation to things like journalism or news and media, and they want to have that voice, but there's so much busy work and difficulties related to just getting it done. And then it makes it so that your kid can't actually just do it. They can't just make it happen. But now with AI here and the automation that it's bringing, my generation is the first that's not going to have to do the busy work. We're just going to get to do the enjoyable part, the part that is sharing the fascination we find, or sharing the whatever emotion it is that some story creates in us. That's what we're doing. That's what the human is there for. And that's what they should be there for. And I love that my generation is the first kids to really embrace that.
I don't know that everybody's taking advantage of the curation opportunity. I recently saw an article that Tony Robbins is suing a company because they basically took all his or a large portion of his talks and created a chatbot out of it, which he was selling on his website. So it's kind of come full circle. Anything that's online is available to train an AI. You know, certainly if you put in a bunch of comments, they don't have to be yours, but you can extract the sentiment and you can truly understand what people are saying. And I think part of that conversation is not so much about the side you fall on, but the actual conversation itself. The fact that people are actually saying these things and feel this way and acknowledging that first, and then looking to that to feed into how do we come up with a better way. How do we bridge some of the gaps? Because we might not know that's the feeling that other people have. But our most engaging content will ferret that out if we took the time to actually extract that sentiment and curate our own work or our own responses to our work, which I don't think everybody's doing. We're chasing a lot of new when we have stuff that's available. The simple thing is, if you journal for a month and then put it into AI and say, what have I been thinking about for the last month? You would be shocked at what you would find. I've done it. And I think that other people should do that and really start seeing. Especially those of us who produce a lot of content.
Do you think that AI has gotten to the point where, like, taking the example you just said, because I do journaling as well, and it's all in my physical journal though, and my handwriting isn't whatever AI would just type. And so do you think that it's gotten to the point where if you just take a picture,
Yes.
it'd be able to just
Yes.
read whatever you wrote?
Yeah.
And
Oh
it'll be
yeah,
able to
absolutely.
understand?
Image to text. Number one. Grok I've found to be the best, at least in the challenges that I've given it, to recognize what's in a picture without asking you a bunch of extra questions. So you can just take your handwriting, image to text, copy paste, put it in, let AI tell you what you've been thinking about, or organize it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. But
They let you copy to text right now inside the AI, right?
Yeah.
You can scan and then upload everything. They limit 10 PDF uploads, but you could scan your entire journal and make it one PDF.
And that's Grok 4 though, right? Because the 3 that
Grok 3 too.
Yeah. 3 will take images and do a great job.
Yeah.
love it.
We love
Yeah,
it.
speaking of the journalism, again, KOMY here, Schoolhouse Radio has a 2-hour journalism show. I think it's Wednesday, or we had the paper here. I think it's Wednesday or Thursday. Anyways, if I find the schedule here, Kelly Souza, I think is her name, right? Has been doing a journalism show for a few weeks now, I think, and I listened to about 10, 15 minutes of the one that was last week, and it was interesting. I was thinking it was going to be more of like a more writing or something, but no, it's actually journalism, in the art of it, and I just found that awesome that they have that here even locally on the radio, journalism on journalism while you're doing journalism.
It is, that's very meta, I guess is what you'd say. It is interesting that we talked about last week that Clark Kent and Peter Parker, your man Spider-Man, are both photojournalists in their, day in, day out life.
wait, Peter Parker was a journalist as well?
Photojournalists. Yeah. And so it's interesting when you think about that and that those started, I mean, Superman, I think, is now 85 years old. I think Spider-Man is definitely over 50 years old. And so it is interesting to see like how the movies, segmented what once was, which is just these big honking cameras, to what is today, and how the same stories told of them fighting this enemy, but now all of a sudden it's with an iPhone, or now all of a sudden it's with augmented reality glasses. Today, some of the most exciting news and media that's being captured and shared is stuff that's being captured on the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. These glasses are allowing people to capture things on video and audio, like in 3D, right at the moment. Anything's happening, a tree is falling, a big wave is breaking, there's an incredible sunset, sunrise. It's like you can capture that moment and share it. We'll be back again in a moment here at 1340 a.m. KOMY to talk a bit about our future vision for how this stuff impacts media and journalism. Well, hello, Internet. Welcome to the studio. We got a break for a few minutes. I forgot my computer, so it's a good thing I have 2 cell phones, because I got one here for me and I got one over here for Malachi and Dan. So today we're talking news journalism. Hi, Kristen. Yeah, I know how to fix it. Let me see your AirPods. Let me see your AirPods. I know how to fix it. It's because these are picking that up. I'll fix it right now. Nigel, why don't you talk to the internet people? I'm gonna make your screen big. They all want to hear from you, my friend.
Well, that's wonderful. I love the idea of journalism being expanded. I feel like we can get through more stories quicker, that's for sure, and we can go further in depth in any particular subject. I feel like we don't have a legitimate excuse for a lot of the not knowing we might have once been able to lead into. Well, I don't know that. Well, the question would be immediately, well, why not? And how far can you go with it? I was talking to a technician that came to our house yesterday to work on our AC, and he was telling me about his reviews. And he's showing me he's like, yeah, I have the best reviews at my company, and he's showing me the Google reviews, and he's scrolling. And I thought to myself immediately, and even said to him, you can put that in AI and you can get like a full report on what your reviews look like against everybody else in the company, where you could do better and all these other items. And I thought about, you could even use that for when it's time for your annual review to really show what it is you've been doing, a la the Doge method of, what have you been doing? Send me a report on what you've accomplished. And goes back to the same thing I was saying about journaling. I think we've been doing so much that sometimes we don't even realize how much. And when we have these tools that can kind of give us some access to that thought process, to our thoughts that have been documented, or things that we've done, whether it be interviews or videos or whatever, I think it starts to help us to become more efficient at just using the AI to actually improve how we approach any particular thing. Because before you didn't have the time to research certain things to a certain level, but now you can. And if you build yourself a little framework to do it, then you do it once, and then you can apply it across the board. And I'm definitely speaking from something that I've done. And I don't think this is beyond most people's capabilities, with a little bit of kind of going over it. I think just getting used to speaking to the AI directly as if it was a personal assistant and asking it to do things, and recognizing that it's possible, is going to dramatically change how this gets used and rolled out and amplified as people start to use it. And I think everyone's going to have to level up to some degree, because between the images being captured that are more real time, and everybody has a camera or multiple cameras. I mean, hearing you say you have two phones, thinking back to the time where I didn't even have one phone and it was still pay phones on the corner, is interesting to me. So there's always something that can be recorded. You're recording from reflections. There's all sorts of things that are being collected all the time, which again goes into the importance of our data and how responsibly we use AI, especially since it's consuming all this energy. So all these things factor into the additional responsibility and accountability I think we have of using these tools, but mostly in media, because they are a great channel to be able to amplify people's ability to adopt this technology and use it for constructive utility at the moment. So not just the wow, great, amazing of, future good to come, but like right now, how do I use this to make my life better? Which I think is a great place to start. If you're new to AI, thinking about jumping in, or a little bit cautious, I think it's an incredible place to start when you start to have real life examples that you could say, wow, this made my life that much better. This made this task that much easier. This gave me a lot more insight, whether it be buying stuff on Amazon versus Costco or Sam's or your local grocery, things like that.
Welcome back to Beachside Tech Talk at 13:40 a.m. KLMY. Nigel was just dropping golden nuggets of wisdom on the internet. We do live stream.
He does that a lot.
He does that a lot. We do live stream to X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and as well as being here live at the studio. This studio is built 1947. Pretty amazing, all that has gone on. And so we're happy to be here. We're going to talk a bit about the future, our future vision for what happens with news and media. Has there ever been in a more important time for news and media to be transparent, trustworthy, honest? There's so much that we depend on when it comes to getting real-time data. So I guess one of my questions, Ted, I'll kick over to you, since I know you're furiously typing over there. We can hear it. So Ted, why don't you tell us, what is your vision for what happens in the future of news and media as we see these tools like AI, which can provide all this content for us, can help journalists co-create, and tools like crypto, distributed ledgers that provide trustworthiness, immutability, a trustless environment where we don't have to trust anything. It's right there in front of us. And what do you envision for the future, my friend?
Yeah, kind of what we already touched on. Like, I see if we can capture the rigor and the truth, the good part of the professional journalism we used to have that basically social media put out of business, if we can recapture that using AI, and even the professional part, like if people can be journalists reporting on the ground, like eyes first, not just influencers that are online that are catching what other people have reported. And it's the same old stories. We have a dearth of news stories of the cool, exciting stuff, and everyone's aggregating it. And that's how you become an influencer, by an extreme view. Just expressing your opinions and your extreme views. I mean, not all of them are extreme. Most of them are extreme. The algorithm's biased for extremes. If the AI can solve that, we can enter into a golden age of journalism, which is absolutely necessary for democracy. Journalism is what the fourth leg of our democracy. We need to have truth. And if we can also, like you had mentioned, starting out the news that Trump said he wants AI to not have any ideology. I think that's the wrong way to frame it. You nailed it. That Trump doesn't really want it to not have any ideology. He wants it to not have any ideology he doesn't agree with.
Right.
And the point is that it's impossible for AI and human beings, and I would go so far, it's impossible to know anything without some form of ideology. For you to know anything, you have to have a worldview. You have to understand language. And that's assumptions that are inherently improvable. So we just have to assume. I mean, we have to take them by faith. We believe them. What I want to see is a transparency to that we can become more self-aware of our ideology, be transparent about what it is. And now we can examine these assumptions and say, is this something I still agree with? Is this something I want to agree with? If we can bring that level of transparency and that rigor to test what we're saying is true or not, it'll be a golden age of journalism. And I feel like I'm very, very optimistic if we can solve these problems. Now, they're not easy to solve, but we could have journalism and it could transform democracy to what it was intended to be.
And so the AI, in a way, thinking for itself, what ideologies do stuff all the data I've got. Because always the way it works is that it takes the data in, and but it's like curators are managing it. It's going to think this way and that way. And so, how could we get it to a point where it's a way kind of has its own ideologies with its based off? Because I thought it was that.
Nigel, you want to answer the young man's question?
Can you just repeat that? Like that came in a little choppy. So could you repeat that question again really quickly?
Go ahead, son.
Frame the question in a question way. Just have a statement question. We supposed to get it so that AI can form its own ideology based off all the data that it has. Because curators.
Got it. I think I got it. I think it starts with we're going to train the AI the way we want to train it. And we do that by being specific. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I don't think we're being as specific as we think we are. We put a prompt in and get a result, and we're happy with aspects of the result. Let's say even all of it. But we don't fact check to see if that's what we even asked for. We just assume that if we said this is what comes out, but that's not what we asked for. I think the beginning of this starts with what we agree on. So it's a conversation that goes a little bit like this. Malachi, the sky is blue. Do you agree? Yes, I agree. The sky is blue. And then you go to the next thing. Do you agree? Or do you not agree? Why do you think that? And as rudimentary as that sounds, that's what's going to get us there. Because what ends up happening, I think, where we have conflict and unproductive circle of no progress conversations is when I'm saying something in the way I understand it, and I'm not even paying attention to whether you understand it. And I'm not even asking if you understand it. I'm assuming. So when you don't understand what I believe I understand, it turns into a conflict that's unnecessary and unproductive. But when you start to break it down, it becomes well, I think the assumption can be lessened by the specifics. And I'll give you a real life example. So Danny and I were going over a problem at one point, right? And what I didn't realize is what I was seeing on my screen was not what he was seeing. And I kept saying, what is this? What is this? And then finally we just stopped and I said, wait a minute. What do you send me a picture of what you're seeing? Show me what you're seeing. And then we realized it wasn't the same thing. And then he restarted. We started seeing the same thing. And instantly we came to a conclusion. If we don't set the foundation, it's going to break. That's how we get there. But I don't think we're taking the time to do that. We're jumping way too far ahead. So again, the question I always come back to is this. Every time you start feeling that way, ask yourself this. How did I come to this conclusion? And now I need to be specific. And I feel it'll start to set you on the right path.
When we think about where things are going with news and media, a lot of what people desire is the ability to get great information in real time when they need it most. So when we think about where things are going, one of the things we should ask ourselves, especially the five of us here having this conversation, is how do we currently get our news and media? And then how do we imagine it being better? Like, if you think through, okay, this is how I currently get my news and media. And if I could wave my magic wand, I'd make this change. So I'll just take it personal. So the way I personally get my news and media today is I will use Grok and on X.AI. I will use ChatGPT and I will ask them both the same question and then I cross reference. I have different news feeds on X, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Google. And so that also impacts things. So that is another thing. That's how I currently do it. So how do you guys currently get your news?
I personally have been working on something that's a little bit that's similar to what you're looking at, but it keeps I keep iterating it to where I just look for discrepancies across different things. And like you, I would try things in different AIs because it's like answering the question, what is the best AI? And my next question would be, what are you trying to do? Because it's not the same across the board. So I feel like the idea is when you're looking for a specific type of news, you go across as many AIs as you can and you see what's coming back that's telling you the truth. And then you start to formulate your narrow language model or prompt for that. And you use that prompt to get your particular news, and it'll start to train it to get the things you want. And again, accuracy and acknowledgement need to be non-negotiable. And you keep saying that. And I think we'll get there. And as a group, we'll get there too, because we will start to say, well, this is unacceptable.
Makes sense. How do you get your news, Dan? Today, what do you do to get news? If the earthquake happens, you want to check it out. If you're interested about this thing or that thing, how are you checking things out? Mhm. Mhm. How about you, Ted? How are you checking news and media today? And then we'll get to kind of waving our magic wand. If we could have something happen with automation tech, what would we want? But Ted, how are you currently doing your news and media? What's your rhythms?
Well, I'm probably outside the box because my approach to news is similar to my approach to investing. It's like, Berkshire Hathaway and that guy who's made tons of money, whatever. What's his name? The great investor. Um, and basically he's not trying to time the market. Investors way overrate the impact of news. It might move things short term. He's looking at what's more important, the local, the fundamentals of the company, and
Hey, you're
looking
talking
for
about Warren
value.
Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Okay. And that's kind of my approach to news. I think we have a big challenge as human beings. We have a big challenge with our news. And I think this also relates to our politics. I believe we tend to way overvalue what's happening in things that are beyond our control. Well, our mood goes up and down with things that are happening nationally and internationally. And again, we said the news is so biased, it's only putting negative things, or it's primarily putting negative things because those perform better. And our mood goes up and down around things that are beyond our control. And we undervalue what is happening right around us and where we can take action and change stuff. So, how this relates to my news, to be honest, probably my primary source of news, at least my first source, is my friends and people I'm talking to. I hear most news stories when they mention it, and then I'll go look them up. I also try to follow different voices with different perspectives. So I'll listen to the friends that are more, conservative, independent. I also follow what's his name, Peter Zahan, and I find his perspective very informative. And then, of course, I keep up on basketball news, so I'm not waiting for my friends to hear about basketball news. I'm following that. But, I'm trying to discipline my mind to be focused on places where I can take action and move the needle, which is locally, which is right in front of us, is what we can model. And I try to stay away, like even my political discord and my political action, I hold it up here. Like I believe in getting involved, but I try to not let it affect my mood up and down, because to be honest, I have very little effect on what's happening nationally. I have far more effect on what's happening locally. And the real change is going to happen over time, generationally, but keeping yourself in that mindset's not easy. So that's how I take news.
So yeah, me too. For the last 4.5 minutes, let's just talk about what could be, what would we like to have happen with news and media through automation? So for me, I really would like the audience to be compensated for their attention. And I really think that this is like the next logical step in automation when it comes to news and media. Right now, the current structure is that someone like a Rupert Murdoch owns something like a Fox News. He sets in motion lots of biz dev people that go sell advertising. The advertising pays for everything that happens. They get the attention of people to watch Fox or listen to Fox on the TV or the internet. Same thing with CNN or whatnot. It's all the same legacy media model. The audience, the only thing that keeps them there is that they are emotionally charged. But usually it's because the news is upsetting them and they stay in to yell at the TV. So what I would love to see happen with AI and blockchain tech is that it would track people's attention. And if somebody gives their attention to news, or if somebody engages with news, if you engage with news, if you share, if you comment, if you like, especially like the community notes section in X, where if people post something that's not true, even Elon Musk himself, if he posts something that's a conspiracy theory that's proven to not be true and he didn't check it first, then he gets community noted and it's like, this is a lie, this is not true. So I love the idea of community notes, either whether it's done through AI or through tied to different distributed ledgers, saying this is not true, and there being a compensation model. I love the idea of people's likes, shares, comments, or even just their attention being recognized and saying, hey, you're part of the advertising loop. Because of you and the other 10 million people that are watching right now, that's why we have all the revenue that's coming in through advertising. Therefore, we're going to have some way of sharing the benefit with you. It doesn't have to be cash, it can be other forms of benefits. Like if you tune into Beachside Tech Talk every single day, then you get a hat or a t-shirt after 30 days. Like that's compensation for your attention. And I would love for AI and blockchain to support people like us on the radio or podcasters that are doing things consistently to give news and journalism to people and say, hey, we humans, we don't have, like the five of us don't have the time to track every single person that's listening. But if there was a way to track, this person jumps on every day, they leave a comment every day, they share it every day. It's been 30 days, they get this month's t-shirt, hat, pair of glasses, whatever it may be. So I really love the idea of acknowledging the audience and compensating the audience for their attention. Um, so that would be a wonderful thing for us to institute ourselves. For the last minute and a half or so, anybody else want to jump in with some sort of powerful, inspirational vision of what could be for news and media with automation? Go ahead,
I'm going to
Mitch.
just jump on this one. I feel like I believe this to be possible. If we started creating a universal metric that we measure all news against, what's negative, whatever that metric is, and measure that content and label it automatically. So you respect the user's attention from the beginning. So you manage what they're going to see. If this is heavily weighted, -7 or polarizing one way 8 or whatever the case may be, once you start seeing those metrics along with a dollar value, whatever metric you come up with that dollar value for the person's attention being given, I think those types of things will start to feed into what you were saying before about compensating everybody and respecting their time. No one has to give you their time. And if you tell them what you're getting, then it's gonna create a better experience. If you show that you're taking their comments seriously, oh, this has been said 100 times, you've done nothing about it in the last 30 days. That kind of metric to me, and those are things that are not biased, they just are. And once we can put something like that, again, back to the foundation, I think it's going to be an incredible opportunity to really see some change or act on some change.
Well, I really love that vision. I love that vision, and I'm acknowledging we're about to the top of the hour. So, for everyone that's listening to us, thank you for joining us once again. We'll be back again tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll be back at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for our final episode. Until then, have a wonderful day. Bye, Internet. See you soon.